Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Light and Love, specifically episode 17. Now, we usually like to start the episode by asking each other some questions, seeing how we're doing. But instead of telling you how we're doing, we're going to show you.
We gonna play a game.
Let's get right to it, baby.
You don't have to smack that on the table.
You know, just for dramatic effect. Dramatic effect.
Hey guys, hi Light and Lovers. Good to see
What's
you guys.
What's up?
Welcome back to episode 17.
Yes.
And like Isaiah said, so we are trying to try something new. We've played this game actually when we went to Joshua Tree with our friends, and every time I play it, I'm like, I love this game.
It's a little vulnerable at times.
Yeah.
It can throw you a curveball, but that's why we like it.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, you get to know people better. So let's give it a shot.
Yeah, without further ado, it's called what is it? We're not really strangers.
We have not planned which car we're going to take, so let it rip.
Okay, me first?
Yeah.
We don't ever play by the rules. I just like the questions on the cards. So.
You're about to see her just rewrite history in real time.
Oh, this one's so basic. Maybe I should switch it.
What is it? We'll decide.
And I bet you on the count of three, we should actually answer it at the same time to see if I'm right. Okay. The question is, what do you think our most important similarity is? And on the count of three. Okay.
Okay.
1, and you say it after 3, not at 3.
Got it.
Right. Okay. And no go. Just 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Then say the answer. Okay. 1, 2, 3. We're encouragers.
Wow. That's upsetting.
You said that's upsetting.
That's truly upsetting. That's fine.
I do. Our most
cool.
important similarity is our love for one another.
That's cool.
But
That's cool.
we always talk about us being
No.
We always
It's
talk
fine.
about us being encouragers.
Let's fix that in post. Let's just cut that out.
Okay, let's do another question just
Okay.
for kicks and
All right,
giggles.
another
Yeah,
one.
I'll let
Yeah.
you choose one. Like you
Okay.
might have better luck at choosing it.
I'll try not to
wait.
take that
So
personally.
question. So for those of you guys that have never played this game, level 1 is perception. Level 2 is connection. And level 3 is reflection. So I think you just pulled from level 2. I'm stressed because the way he's smiling at me makes me nervous.
This one
It's
was
a wild
this
card.
is a
I don't
wild
like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it.
This one says, call someone you admire and tell them why you appreciate them and
that's
put them on speakerphone.
That's a wild card because
Well,
we
we
got
have
our
to-
phone set up for this.
Actually, I have my phone right here.
But we need to set it up to the soundboard, let it
No, you
dial
don't.
out.
No, you don't. You can just set it up right with the mic. Who are we calling?
Is this Who Wants to Be a Millionaire where we're phoning a friend?
Who are we calling? Who do you want to call?
It's your call, babe. I mean, I don't know if we're fully equipped to do this with sound production, but you know what?
I think it'll be just fine.
Wild card says call somebody and tell them we
It's
appreciate
12.
them.
It's past midnight.
Who's awake? Sorry, y'all know what
So
time.
It's 12:11 right now, just for the record, on a Saturday night. Oh my goodness, that is going to be really hard to explain to someone. Who can we call? Can we do that to him? Okay, yeah. He might. He
He's
actually.
probably awake.
All right, let's do it.
We're gonna call our pastor.
Oh, Israel, come on, man.
Okay.
I mean, it went right to voicemail. I should give
Try
him
one more
chance.
time.
Yeah, let's give him another shot. Oh, he really does
His
not want.
phone's
He really
dead.
does not want to be.
Do not
disturbed.
disturb.
In all fairness, he's probably preparing for the sermon tomorrow.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we skipped this question.
Oh, come on, girl. I mean, we did try. Okay.
Yeah, it's literally
it is also very late. I don't want to be. I don't want to be rude.
Coast, it's like 3 a.m.
I also don't want to be rude. Okay. All right. Fine.
All right.
One more.
Okay. Our luck has been pretty. But we're gonna have to try that question at another time. We can answer this for each other. Do you believe everyone has a calling? If so, do you think I found mine?
I do believe everyone has a calling. I don't think it's always specifically related to vocation. But I do believe that you were called to use your words to uplift others. And I think you are doing that right now, actually.
Hey, how about that?
And I know that you are in process to do that in written form. So I think there's other forms of, it's loading. And I just believe that this is part of who you are. Like it comes across in so many different environments that you participate in. And I know that it's just the beginning. So yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful question. Okay. Do you believe everyone has a calling? If so, do you think I found mine? I do believe that everybody has a calling. I think that it's beyond just vocation.
So you're copying me.
You didn't use that word?
I think I actually
Vocation?
did.
Maybe I wasn't listening. Selective hearing?
No, it's fine.
Did you use vocation?
I thought I did, but we'll have to run
Maybe
it
you
back.
thought about it and you never actually used it. We'll obviously watch this back. Yeah, it's outside of vocation. It has a focus on whether or not you answer to whatever God calls you to do. That's the calling that I believe. And I feel like it's looked different in your life at different stages. And you always answer the call. No matter how uncomfortable it is, staying in corporate when you didn't want to stay, leaving corporate when you were inspired to leave, going to London to study acting when it didn't make sense with your, CPA backing, diving into real estate and juggling two different things, the call to being a father and a husband. And I feel like you've risen to the occasion. One, because, God is calling you, but God is also equipping you with the strength and the clarity and the wherewithal to do these things well. So, yes.
Thank you. I love that. And I'm smiling, not only because, it's nice to hear you articulate that, but I also just think it's hilarious because that's just like why I'm smiling, because this is just like truly an unplanned but perfect segue into what we're talking about tonight, which is the idea of commitment.
Do or die, baby.
You got to do it or die. That's just the bottom line. And that might sound absurd on the surface, but I actually really believe there's so many different ways we could take this conversation, and hopefully we'll kind of be able to unpack a lot of them. But man, we just need more commitment. I feel like that is something that is a lost art in the world that we live in today. Commitment in your aspiration to follow through with something, commitment in relationships, commitment to God, all things that are connected and are deeply valuable and important. But I feel like we live in a fickle society, fickle situation right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think lately I've been defining it as commitment. Either you do or you don't. I read it from somebody. So it's commitment. Either you do or you don't. There is no in between. And I love that because, when it comes to excuses, workouts, eating well, starting that new side hustle, we say it, and it's either you do it or you don't. Regardless of the excuses, it's either being completed or not. And I think when you can kind of make it black and white, it's so easy for ourselves to talk to ourselves and tell us why we shouldn't do that thing because it's the path of least resistance or whatever the case may be. So that's been how I've been defining it. And I think you had an interesting conversation this week that kind of led us to having a more in-depth look at this topic.
Yeah. So this is still unfolding in real time, and I hope it doesn't sound too loosey-goosey, because I'm genuinely still kind of thinking through actively what this really means, and I'm trying to be thoughtful and prayerful about how to apply this properly. But I had a really good conversation with one of my best friends from college,
the godfather of
our son, Christian, Eric Hansel.
Shout out to you.
Shout out to my man Eric Hansel. And I was just kind of sharing to him where I was in everything. So kind of catching him up on Loza and my kind of process and how we're growing Tedros team, how we're looking to scale our business, the different ways in which we're doing that, what it's taking and requiring of us to do that, how I'm also at the same time trying to manage what it means to be a good father, to be a husband, to also have a career in acting that a lot of my friends from college who saw the genesis of all this and are like also deeply invested in that. Like we have such supportive people in our life, right? So it's like talking about all these things, and it's just like, you know, I was real with them. I said, you know, I really do see my acting career as something that's a part of me. I cannot.
Sorry, correction. He's Selah's godfather. Sorry, that just dawned on me.
Yes, I don't know why we said that.
Because I was like, no, we've known him longer than that.
Yeah, sorry. I just was rolling on with what you said. Sorry.
Correction. Shout out to you. You're so present that it was for both. Caleb is
Christian's godfather. Eric is Selah's godfather. Wow, I'm so glad you corrected that, because that was it's past midnight, everybody. Yeah,
Sorry,
but we have two awesome godfathers to our two different children. So
exactly, yeah.
Eric Hansel, Caleb
just to
Kasai.
clarify.
Yes. How did that hit you? Like right where it hit you, by the way?
I was like, you know what? I remember Eric, God bless you. He gave Selah a really thoughtful cross necklace. And I was like, why would he give her a cross necklace if he's Christian's godfather? And I was like, that's not true. And then I thought of Christian's actual godfather. I was like, wait a second. We're totally off here.
Oh, wow. So you're also saying you weren't listening to me.
What do you mean? No, I was listening.
So I've been talking to myself.
I was listening. He was talking about his college friends who were in acting. It's past midnight, guys. And how a lot of them are very invested in this journey with you, because
isn't that amazing how she could really pretend like she's been here with us? She's literally been a shell of a person.
Women have the ability to multitask. I heard all those things and process at the same time.
This is AI. This is AI Loza right now. Wow, come back.
Honestly, that's what makes mom so great. I can't stand this man. That's what makes us great moms. Wow. I can literally juggle multiple thoughts. And I was actively listening to you. As you said that your friends have journeyed with you and been very invested in this journey.
I literally think about one other thing. Loza could see right through me and accuse me of...
I said, hey, where...
She's like, hello, are you here?
Where did you just
go?
Wow,
you really almost played that off. Anyways, all right, we cleaned that up. Okay. Yes. Caleb Kasai, Christian's godfather. Eric Hansel, Selah's godfather.
We love you guys.
Yeah, we love you guys. We really do. We appreciate you guys. But I was having a conversation with Eric Hansel, Selah's godfather. And we were talking about like what we're doing to grow Tedros' team, and how, you know, we're committed to expanding the business, growing revenue. We're describing to him all the things that we're doing, and then talking about that in light of just being a father, being a husband, also having a career as an actor. And it's just like talking through all those things. And one of the like definitions that came up was the definition of commitment. So Eric went to business school at Wharton, and he talked about like a strategy class that he took. And one of the things that really resonated with me that he described was how when they talk about like this idea of commitment in that class, it's like really seen as like you're just doing it or you don't. There's almost not even a point of talking about the alternative, because that's just not something that's on the table, because the idea is that you're going to do whatever you need to do until you get to where you're trying to go. Right. So, but it's not to make it seem like it's not acknowledging for the challenges or the potential problems that could come up, because no plan is linear. But what it speaks to is how if you commit and say you're going to do something, it's either you do it or you don't. Yeah. It's like he described it as like a hill that you're willing to die on. And sometimes, you know, bring it back to like, you know, the career navigation that I'm having, it's not even so much, because I described to him, I was like, it's not that I'm not willing to, you know, commit to my, you know, my aspiration as an actor over the long term. Like what I've started to frame it as was like, you know, because our real estate business is taking all of us right now and we're giving all of our energy into it. I've started to like really look at my acting career as something that I'm going to water over a lifetime. It's like, it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It doesn't have to be something that, materializes instantly. I've become at peace with knowing that this is something I love, and I'm going to like kind of just nurture it in a long frame type of way. But in describing that definition to him, he explained to me that, well, it sounds like you're not committed to it. And he was saying, it's not a negative thing. It's not even to say that you're like not going to nurture it, but like as it relates to like almost like a hill you're willing to die on right now. And in terms of your daily inputs and your actions, it's not something that you are, giving all your mental energy towards. And even despite the fact, like I shot a commercial, last week, the defensive side of myself was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I just did this, like I was in class, last month. But what resonated about it was this idea that, oftentimes there is like you have to give yourself to something. And this is like still a working definition that I'm working through. But in that, I kind of, we started mulling over this idea of what does it mean to be committed to something? And this is what we're continuing to process right now. And like trying to understand it through a biblical lens and like, what does it mean? And I have some ideas like that I've still been mulling over, but like, I kind of want to hear what your thought on it is it too.
Yeah. I think, even as you're like explaining it, right? The hill you're willing to die on traditionally, it's like maybe it's not as easy to commit to one thing. I think a lot of the times the reason commitment becomes challenging for people is because it can get overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
The consistency, the constant day in and day out, the frequency of how many times you're sowing seeds without actually seeing fruit. That's commitment. It's like choosing to do that thing consistently regardless of the output. Because eventually you believe that according to the principles of life, if you're sowing enough seeds, something will bear fruit, you know? And I think a lot of the times we get overwhelmed by that concept. So either we get discouraged along the way or we don't do it. So commitment becomes far more elusive to us than we'd like to, we'd hope. And I feel like, I feel like that's probably where I feel like we've been struggling as a society is just that. Is feeling overwhelmed, feeling discouraged, and therefore we can't. I think this is the first year, and I'll speak for myself, where I've been committed the most to health and fitness.
Flex on him real quick.
Flex on him real quick. Make me he always calls my one-hitter quitters. I'm like, don't put me on blast. But I
tell them what you're working with.
But I say that to say that like last year, right after I had Christian, I committed and I told myself, you know what? I wonder what 1 year of consistency looks like.
She's not lying.
1 year of consistency. And so I started in October and I started, some of y'all joined me on
and
Instagram.
It's turned her into somewhat of a tyrant, actually. I can't even enjoy a scoop of ice cream in peace around here. It's really out of control.
I'm like, okay, have you thought about what exactly that is? Is that nutrient dense? Does that really help you, But I think it was like each month, more than anything, it was like really telling myself, you know what? And I think what it is like, it's not looking at the bigger picture, because I think that can be overwhelming. If you told someone it's going to take you 5 years to do this, to really break through or whatever, it gets overwhelming. But it's every day making the process fun, every day switching it up, because we're human beings and there's a capacity for us to get used to things.
I think that's why Eric defined it the way that he did. It's like,
regardless.
Regardless, but also like, how does that relate to, I know there's like an idea that you can speak about kind of in theory, but how does that relate to like the daily inputs and what's happening in the today and now, Not to make it black or white. Well, not to make it black or white, but I think the point again that he was making was that, the commitment has to translate to what you're doing. Like, what are your daily actions and activities, look like that support that notion?
Correct. Yeah. Because you can't just say it in word. You need to follow through.
It's really not all black and white, because again, like just depending on how you define it, it's like, there's a time and a place. There's a season for everything. Sometimes there's an ebb and flow in the reality to our life. It could very much be the case that, people come back to things. Sometimes you need a little bit of perspective from something in order to return to it in a meaningful way. Just because Michael Jordan stopped playing basketball for a season and played baseball didn't make him not a basketball player. He came back to it, And in a lot of ways you can argue that his time away from basketball only, put him in a position to really be even more effective. They won 3 more championships after that, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. You know,
I think, and I wonder, whenever he left, was that just saying,
I think he
was
felt like
it a
I think he felt
commitment
like
to
I think he
basketball?
felt like he maxed out on the game, and I don't even know all the reasons for it.
Yeah.
But he was never really. I mean, I don't think he was ever really done with the game. You know, I think he felt like he had accomplished so much in that time, so he wanted to just be great at something else too.
Yeah.
And then came back.
And
to
so maybe his commitment, and maybe then it's defining your commitment, right? His commitment was to excellence.
Yeah.
And translating his excellence in another arena. But I think that, the concept of commitment is.
I think in the broader sense, and like the more like sense that we talk about it in today's society, if we were to just tie it back to like the things that we're seeing every day, I think the reality is people just aren't willing to commit in that they're holding steadfast to something. Like I think people start things and then just leave them alone. And I think there is a benefit to being specific about like the different degrees of commitment, but maybe let's take a moment to talk about it like as a whole, like how there is like somewhat of a flakiness in people and how we deal with things.
Yeah.
Whether it's you saying, "Oh, I do want to do this thing," and then you talk to someone, 6 months later. It's like the whole classic, New Year resolution thing. It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this," and then I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does it mean to really commit to something in a way that is meaningful? Like I actually, what troubles me about this conversation, even like from like a professional standpoint, is that, there are so many well-intentioned people who at the first sign of adversity are just so quick to give up. And I think that's the part that like, I think is incongruous, especially as someone who is a believer or someone who believes that God is faithful to not only start something, but to complete it, And a lot of times too, I feel like Christians will approach something saying, "Oh, God led me here." And then
Like he did
at the
what?
first sign of like, challenge, they'll be like, "Oh,
Or
actually,
discomfort.
I must have heard wrong, or I don't know if it's for me anymore." I'm like, "Come on, can we
That's
talk
why you
about?"
can't be using. Hey, let's
Yeah,
call that out though.
let's
Like,
just-
don't throw out the God told me. If you're gonna say God
Like maybe
told
let's
me,
talk
God
about
changed his
let's talk
mind.
about that. Let's talk
You
about
know what I
that,
mean? Because
you know?
I think a lot of the times it bothers me a lot because not only is the world watching, right? And then you're taking what God said or God spoke to you, which I'm not saying God doesn't speak to us in ways that are inspiring. But as far as I know, the character of God is a finishing character.
Yes.
He finished what he did on the cross. He finishes what he does through people. So when he starts something, he'll finish. And when he redirects or when he guides, it's because it's like a rod of a shepherd that will gently guide you to where he's trying to take you. But
Right.
his character shows a finishing nature, you
Yeah.
know? Talk about commitment. He was committed to the point of death,
so
you know what
great.
I mean? And I think when it becomes challenging, when people are like, yeah, I feel like God is leading me in this direction and things change, it's like, you can't do that. Like, we can't do that.
Bro, I hear that
Collectively,
conversation
we
so
can't do
much.
that.
And my first instinct be like, what? I be like, no.
Yeah.
No, it's just not true. I mean, obviously, you want to give people the freedom to like, navigate however they want. Because of course, every situation has more nuance to it. But like,
But be cautious when you're using
my
what
initial
God told you,
impulse
yeah.
is like, no. Why? Can we really talk about what's really motivating this? Because I think the uncomfortable truth that, and I'll say it here now because I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but I hope this reaches who is ever supposed to reach. I think the uncomfortable truth is a lot of times we will convince ourselves out of something because we are uncomfortable and we're unwilling to sit with discomfort. I think that's the bottom line truth. And I think that's the thing that a lot of us should evaluate. I think a lot of us should evaluate it.
Yeah.
Not to be one of those guys, but
He's like, go hard. Wake up at 4 a.m.
The Shia LaBeouf thing. Just do it! Do it!
Okay.
Just do it. Just
That's
do
so
it.
aggressive.
No.
But really, though, just
No, what I was going to say, yeah, really just do it. So I started very recently, within the last month, doing jujitsu. And my whole reason for wanting to start was because I wanted to find an activity that I could share with Christian one day. Christian's still too young, and they can't start till they're like 4 years old or whatever. But that was kind of like the inspiration. And I've heard so many great things about the discipline it creates, and it's just like a way to stay active. It's practical skill sets, but in doing it for myself, I'm realizing, oh wow, this is actually going to be really great for me. And one of the things, speaking of what we were just talking about, was realizing that, man, we really have so much more capacity for embracing discomfort. Like the first couple times I went out there and started rolling or sparring with people, and like a large man would just sit on top of me and just like be smashing my face into the ground.
Can you imagine?
my initial instinct was like, yo, like, what am I doing here right now? Like, someone get me out of here.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
Crazy as in, like, I never imagined myself in this position.
No, I was just like, no, why am I
to die?
No, I was like, why am I doing this to myself, bro? Like, I don't need this. I was like, this is very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then, like, weirdly enough, the more you do it, like, the more like excited I become by it. And like,
why is that?
Number one, I found something deeply gratifying about like just seeing people who are very capable, who are also very humble. So I was just kind of drawn to that concept. But also like, knowing that over time, I started to like embrace this very uncomfortable feeling, and I started to like just sit in it. And there's something very gratifying about knowing that I actually have way more capacity than I initially expected. Like, it's actually not that bad. The biggest enemy that we have oftentimes is the one in our own mind. And I think, to bring it back to this conversation, this idea of commitment is so important, because a lot of times, and again, not every situation is the same, but a lot of times we talk ourselves out of things because we cannot rationalize a way forward. And call it the enemy, call it us lying to ourselves, whatever the case, I think we owe it to ourselves to get at the root of why we do that, and to be faithful to finish the things that we start.
Yeah. I think it's just familiarizing ourselves with discomfort is necessary. Yeah. I love that you said that, because even as you're describing jiu-jitsu, there was, how a lot of people do like the cold plunges, or like where you're putting yourself like intentionally in an uncomfortable position so that your mind can tap on.
Yeah.
So your mind can learn adversity. So your mind can learn resistance. So you can train yourself to undergo harsh conditions and still persevere. And I think that skill set is not really taught to us. For those that have gone through, a lot of life, a lot of challenges, a lot of struggles, you have the capacity to build resistance if you're willing to allow yourself.
Yeah.
So, and I say that because it's not necessarily a light switch, but kind of. It's either you have the opportunity to view yourself as a victim, like when you were, stretched out beneath, this guy that was like on top of you, or
you made it sound
I know,
so
it sounded
weird.
Yeah, sorry.
You made that sound so weird.
You said this big guy that was sitting on top of me. What am I supposed to do with that? I have no visual. Imaginary illustrations that you can use.
Okay, well, there has to be a sound effect for that one, bro. I don't even know what to tell. I can't even see the keypad.
Not saying bing bong to that.
Anyways.
Yikes. That's what that is. Yikes is that.
Yikes that up, bro.
But yeah, so you can either view yourself as a victim in that situation, or you can view yourself as a victor and tell yourself, okay, mind, like, let's tap in. And I think you're right. Your mind gives up far sooner than your physical body does. Yeah. And I've learned that for the first time again, like, this fitness journey has been such an interesting thing for me, because I've just always believed, okay, I don't have upper body strength. I don't do these things. And then I recently heard from Stephen Furtick, and he says, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So like getting used to things that are challenging, to the discomfort, to the things, that's the only way, one, that you have the capacity to grow, to expand, to learn more. And even with the commitment, it's like persevering. It's choosing to persist despite what the present circumstances, Yeah, so I'm really, really challenged by that. And I think it's a great discipline that you're doing now, because it's kind of a physical representation to something that we need to teach in our minds.
I think the physical representation is so important, because it just removes it from like being theory. But like another practical, I don't want to call it physical, but like real life correlation is like just also even the concept of like relationship. It's like, I think when we talk about commitment, even today, everything seems so like flighty. and flaky, you know? Like, there's just almost like no incentive between all the dating apps out there, just the ample opportunity to meet people on the internet.
Yeah.
It's like the stakes seem so low, but the reality is the stakes are just higher than ever because people are not like engaging meaningfully because they've already checked out onto the next person before they've even really got to see who somebody's about. And I think that's part of the problem is that, and again, this is not like a suggestion that you should commit to, someone who's, not right for you, but like you have to be willing to see things through. You can't be flighty, like you got to see what someone's about. And even when there is some hardship, I think that's a perfect opportunity to see what like
How
someone's
they
real
handle them.
colors are.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got to be willing to ride with them in
I
that
think
way.
maybe there's like a reprocessing or a framing that needs to happen around conflict, even in relationships and dating relationships. Like I'm not even talking about marriage right now. We're in this thing.
Yeah.
Like, marriage, there's like a union, and that's hard enough for some people too. So I guess there's layers to this conversation, but you know what I mean.
I think that's interesting because that inability to be committed in relationships explains why there's such a big deterrent for individuals or men in particular.
Another yikes alert.
But men not choosing to enter into committed relationships, it's because of the fear of the amount of not just hard work, but like if you know that marriage itself is a commitment, then that means that regardless of what it looks like, you're going to be put in an uncomfortable situation that will cause you to grow. And maybe because of understanding the weight of that, a lot of people are too afraid to step into the thing that's going to challenge them, too afraid to step into the thing that's
Can we
going
just
to
like rewind that conversation? Yeah.
Where
and
do you
then
get that?
say the same exact thing again, but just
With
say
men
it
and
with
women?
women. Okay? Because I think that's
women,
because
men and women.
yeah, men and women.
Okay,
yeah.
I was like,
not
don't
just men.
focus on the girl.
No, we're not. This is not. This
And I
is
say
not
that
even what the
because a lot
conversation
of
is
the-
about today. We're not going to go down this route. But I do
You're
feel
right.
like
Maybe
it's the same.
the challenge is I think traditionally, it feels like the options are a little bit more limitless for men, and so it's easier to do these things with a non-committal energy than to say, you know what, I'm going to commit to this one person. I'm going to pursue this one person, and I'm going to. I want to do the hard work that is marriage with that person, and I'm going to intentionally step into that. I feel like it's lost.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think this all correlates to this idea of commitment. I know you were trying to bait me into continuing on.
Take the bait.
But let me tell you something that I've
no
learned.
male slander.
Let me tell you something I learned in marriage a long time ago.
Calling you guys out.
Something I learned in marriage is sometimes it's not worth the fight, everybody. It's not worth the fight, man. It's not worth the fight.
This is an advocacy group for all my girlfriends.
But yeah, I think it's just like the bottom line is commitment. And I think to tie it all the way back around, I think the most important form of commitment that we need to have is first to God. I think there's a reason why the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Because when we are committed to God first and foremost, then I believe God gives us a sober enough mind so that we don't betray ourselves committing to the things or even aspiring to the things that we're not supposed to, because it's like by virtue of being committed to God and like understanding the desire of God's heart for us, then we can really understand where we're supposed to go and what we're supposed to do, And at the end of the day too, it's like this life is, especially if you're a person of faith, then this life is not just about all the different, random, not even random. It's not even just about the educational pursuits, the romantic pursuits, the professional pursuits. Everything starts and ends with God,
Yeah, that's good.
So,
and I think God knows that of our hearts, right? That we're fickle. We have the capacity to do that, but it makes me wonder. How they say like nothing well worth it comes easy, right? Some of the best things are on the other side of like those, like being able to endure challenges and to hold steadfast. Like there are great depths that you get to experience of who God is if you're willing to hang out on the rock when storms show up.
Yeah.
You get to experience him in that way. You get to know him in that way. And they often say whoever finds God finds life, which is true. But that comes also at the cost of your own life, right? It says, whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever is willing to lose his life for my sake will find it. And when I think of the losing your life, that to me is the commitment. That's like hanging on to your faith when everything else is like, going crazy, but you're still holding on. It's like you're still willing to like not be sold to your comfort, not be sold to your desire to like go back to what you know or go back to yourself. But it's like, you know what? I'm holding steadfast to the things of God, and I'm willing to lose everything in an effort to hold on to this. And when you do that, that's when your true life begins. That's when the best things show up. So in the same way, it's when you're committed that you see the fruits of your commitment. And I think that is a principle that God instilled in the foundations of the world. And then now, like, as we're like living life, we're defining it by what we're seeing in relationships and in fitness and in our work. And with God,
Yeah, it's like baking the cake and allowing it to go through its whole process and not just like opening the stove and yanking the tray out before it's actually ready.
Yeah.
Because like that's kind of what I hear you saying. It's like, even as it relates to our commitment to God, sometimes people are so ready to just give up on God, being like, yo, what's up with it, God? Like, where are you at?
Like,
And it's like, sometimes we have to be willing to go through whatever it is and like see things through, like
with God,
and not press the eject, so quick to press the eject button. Man, I think this idea of commitment is really pervasive in like every facet of our lives. I don't even think, to be honest, I never even really thought about it like that until we were having this conversation. But it makes me realize that it's that much more relevant.
Yeah. And I feel like something that God's trying to instill deep within us so that we can live out the life that he's called us to live in commitment to him, in service to others, and in our truest purpose. So yeah, I'm definitely challenged by it, because I think when I ask myself that now, going back to what I had defined in the beginning, like commitment, either you do or you don't. There's no in between. Now when I have like a task before me, I'm like, listen, Loza, you wrote it down this morning. You said you wanted to do it. So either you do it or you don't. But what you're not going to do is make excuses for yourself. And if you didn't do it, okay, roll it over to the next day and let's be intentional about getting it done. So definitely a good, encouraging, and challenging conversation to be had.
That's all I have for it. I don't know. I mean, I think that was great. I think that was meant to be. Yeah. And I know. Yeah. I know that was God's intention for us to talk about this too. So
absolutely. So thanks for tuning in on that, guys.
Yes.
And not to shout out our sponsor, but to shout out our sponsor.
Yes.
Tedros Team.
Tedros Team is
real estate company in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Servicing Los Angeles.
Yes.
And Long Beach.
Yes. And we just want to invite you on the journey with us. We have really enjoyed playing point and kind of guiding a lot of the folks who've reached out to us from so many different walks of life. And one of the things that we've been doing recently to add value to people who are not even in the place to start looking for homes or considering the idea of home ownership is offering our weekly newsletter. So we would love to encourage you guys to tap into that, check the link in the show notes. And then one idea that we had is to just start giving you guys quick tidbits of real estate information that could be helpful wherever you are. So, for example, this last week in this is a federal thing, but Assembly Bill 1033 had passed, and it's a bill that allows ADUs to be sold separate from the home. So
what's an ADU?
An ADU is an accessory dwelling unit, and it's something that can either be converted from a garage, or sometimes people will build a standalone kind of separate entity within the lot of a single family home. But it's a way for people to create more home ownership or create more housing opportunities for people. The state had allowed for it because, especially in California, home ownership is, or housing inventory is an issue for a lot of people. So this is a kind of game changer situation that's kind of unfolding in real time, because this is like, there's so many implications that come with selling ADU that's still on the single family lot, but it's owned by somebody else. So something to think about, but it's another way that people who own land can make more income for themselves.
Yeah, it's actually a good move for those that are looking to diversify,
And not
build,
even-
build wealth.
Yeah,
You
and
know, it's
not
like if
even
you've
the-
got the space for
not
it.
even the sell, not even specifically relating to like the selling that this bill is talking about, but even the building of an ADU has been like a really great game changing income generating opportunity for a lot of folks. A lot of our clients have done it and are still working through it. So
Yeah.
Anyway, stay tuned with all that. Tap in with our newsletter if you want to learn a little bit more.
Exactly, yeah.
And
And if that interests you or you guys have any questions actually about that bill itself, feel free to reach out,
hit us
slide
up.
up in our DMs at Tedros Team. And also, since you're going to be adding Tedros Team, you might as well add us too. At
Yes.
Isaiah's Tedros and at lightandlove.life. Yeah, thanks for tuning in with us, guys. We appreciate you. And you know what? This just shows you how non-YouTuber-esque we've been. We need you guys to smash that subscribe
Smash
button.
it.
Okay?
Oh, gosh.
Please smash that subscribe button.
Smash it, smash it, smash it.
Bing
Bing bong. Smash it. No, smash it. Gunshots. Ooh, just smash it.
Yeah, smash that subscribe button. Comment. We appreciate the comments.
We really
Share.
would love to engage with you further in the
Yeah.
comment section.
Yeah, we really
just
feel
hear
like-
from you guys.
Yeah, I feel like we've been offering a lot of deeper conversations that we've been having inside the house that I feel like have been encouraging people. We love hearing the conversations that are being started in people's homes, you know, as people are like tuning in and our friends are like getting to know us, but then we're also learning about them as they share their journeys through the different topics, friendships through the fire, the reality of marriage or the truth about marriage, what it means to like parent kids, the Halloween topic. So yeah, continue hitting us up. We'd love to hear from you. And that's all we got.
Peace.
Catch you next time.